Hello, so today I am going to show you how you can group products into products with variants using the Matrixify app. So now we're going to start in your Shopify admin, which is where we are now. And here you can see the products that I am going to group together into products with variants. I will be grouping shirts with shirts and shorts with shorts. So we're first going to start by tagging these products. And the reason why we are going to tag these products now is so that later it's easier to delete them. If we were to delete the product now, the images would be lost. And then when we group these products together into products with variants, those products would also not have images. So it's best to tag the products now so that later when the group products with variants are created, it is easier to delete these remaining products. Now I will show you how you can tag products natively in your Shopify admin. So you'll need to click here on the checkbox in the top left hand corner and then click on these three dots, more action, and here you will be able to see add tags. Simply click on add tags and then add a tag that you would like. You can really tag these products with anything you would like. The main goal is just so that it's easy to find them afterwards. In this case, I am going to be tagging the products old products. And just press add and save. And now your products will be tagged. So we can go here, we can see that they now have the tag old products. Now that our products have been correctly tagged, we can then move on to grouping these products together into products with variants. Now, to do so, we need to head to the Matrixify app, press New Export, and here selecting products to be exported from the Select Sheets dropdown. When exporting, we need to select Basic Columns, Media, and Inventory Variants. These are the minimum required column groups required to group products together into products with variants. However, if you would like, you can also select categories, collections, variant costs, or any other information you'd like your products that are grouped together as products with variants to have. Although in this case, I am just going to show how to do this with the minimum required fields. So once everything has been selected, you can then export. To make things a lot easier and a lot more simple, we can also just export only the products that we have just tagged. To do so, we would need to click on Filter, and from the Filter drop-down, select the Filter Tags, set the filter to equals to any of, and then you can add the tag that we have just added to our products. In this case, my tag would be old products. Click add to add the filter and then press export. And here you can see all of my known products have been exported, and we can go ahead and download the exported file by clicking on the download exported file button. Here you can see the file has now downloaded and we are going to click on it to open it. Now, as you can see, many different columns have been exported, but don't let that scare you. We will go through each column one by one. So first, starting off with the ID column. Since we will be creating new products with this import, the ID column isn't necessary, as the ID column value is a value assigned to a product by Shopify once a product has been created. So for this import, we do not need an ID column since we will be creating new products. So you can go ahead and delete that. Now, moving on to handle. For the products that we would like to group together into products with variants, the handle must be the same. And the same goes for the title column. Starting off with handle. For all of the shorts that I would like to group together, I am going to set the handle to shorts. And for all the t-shirts, I am going to set the handle to be t-shirt. So removing extra large from the shorts and just leaving shorts. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the rest of the values in this column. So now, as you can see, all shorts are shorts and all t-shirts are t-shirts, which is exactly what we need. Now moving on to the command column. As we will be creating new products for this import, the command column value should be new. So we're going to change merge to new and drag that down for all rows. Now moving on to the title column. A good trick would be to copy the values that you have in this title column into the option 1 value column. The reason for this is so that when we are creating the variants with these option columns, we'll remember which row was which variant, which can tend to be very, very helpful. So just copy paste that there and just leave that there for now. We'll come back to this later. So moving back to the title column. Now the title can really be anything, but as the same as with the handle column, the title does need to be the same for the products that we would like to group together. So in this case, I'm going to do exactly the same and name shorts shorts and t-shirts t-shirts. So again, removing that extra large from shorts and leaving just shorts. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the remaining rows. So now, as you can see, I have shorts and t-shirts. One interesting thing about this is that we have shorts on the first 2 rows and then again on the 5th row. When creating new products, when importing in general, the titles that are the same and handles that are the same really do need to be next to each other in the file as to not cause problems. So it's very, very simple how you do this is by selecting the handle column, then going to sort and filter and pressing sort A to Z. So here we'll go ahead and do that and press sort. And now, as you can see, everything is very nicely next to each other. We have shorts with shorts and t-shirts with t-shirts. In essence, we will be creating 2 products. One product would be shorts and one product would be t-shirts. Now moving on to the body HTML or the product description. Shopify allows each product to have one description. Shopify does not allow products to have more than one description. So in this case, we will be giving our 2 products one description. Now the description value or the body HTML column value should be on the first row of the product. In this case, for shorts, I am going to add the description, the best shorts that you've ever seen. So that's on the first row, and remove the descriptions from the other rows. And the same goes for t-shirts. And for t-shirts, I am going to give the description good quality shirts. So here we can see that we now have the description on the first row of each product. It's not possible to leave the description values for the remaining rows of the product, because then the app will give an error saying that the body HTML value differs in each row, which we don't want. If easier for you, you can also add the exact same description for all rows. That will work, but for simplicity, it is usually a lot easier to just leave the value on the first row of the product. Now moving on to the other columns in your file. You can change the vendor for these products. You can change the type. As for tags, we're going to remove this old product tag because these aren't old products, these are new products. You can tag them with new product if you would like, or you can tag them with anything else that you would like. It's completely up to you. And the same goes for these columns as well. It's completely up to you what you'd like to change, what you wouldn't like to change. It's your choice. Moving on to images. You can leave these images where they are in the image source column, which is here. But what I'm also going to do to give my variants images as well when I import is I'm going to copy this value and I'm going to add it to the variant image column. The reason for this is so that when we import these new products into our Shopify admin, the variants of the product will then also have images, which is very, very handy and very, very nice. So that is what we are going to do there. Now moving on to the variants of these products. Since we'll be creating new variants, we don't need the variant inventory item ID column or the variant ID column. So we can go ahead and remove those from the file. The variant command column value can stay as it is. And now moving on to the option columns. Now these are the columns that actually create the variants for our product. So as you can see here, we have those titles that we copied previously from the title column here. This makes it now a lot easier to see which row belongs to which variant. So the option 1 name would be, in my case for shorts, it would be size. So I'm going to go ahead and name these rows size for shorts. And for t-shirts, the value would be color. So I'm going to go ahead and name this option 1 name color for my t-shirts. And then here from these values, I'm just going to go ahead and remove shorts. And for t-shirts, I'm going to go ahead and remove t-shirts. So we're just left with the size, which in this case would be extra large, large, medium, small. And for t-shirts, it would be purple, red, orange, green, and blue. So I'll just go ahead and do that. So as you can now see, we have our variants created. If your variants have more than one option value, you can definitely add that. So you can add option 2 name or option 3 name and their values. That would be depending on your products and how you would like to create the variants for them. But yes, in this case, I would only have one option for my variants, which would be size for shorts and colors for shirts. Now moving on to the rest of the variant columns. Again, you can change anything that you would like. You can change the position that your variants are in, which would be the order of the variants in your Shopify admin. You can change their SKUs. You can add barcode if you would like. You can generally change any of these values to what you would need these values to be. In my case, I'm going to leave them as is, but you can definitely change them if you would like. And that would then be it. If everything looks good in your file, if you're happy with everything, you can then go ahead and save your file. I'm going to save the file to new products. And once everything's saved, you can then head back to the Matrixify app. And in the import section, press add file. Select the file that you would like to import, which in this case would be new product. The app will then analyze the file. And as we can see, the app has correctly analyzed that the file contains 2 products. It's okay that this sheet is ignored. And if everything looks good and as it should, we can then go ahead and press import. So now as you can see, the app has correctly created 2 new products. And if we go to our products in our Shopify admin, we'll be able to see the t-shirt product and the short products that we've just created. If we click on t-shirts, for example, we'll be able to see that description that we gave this product, or the images for the product, and each variant will also then have its image as well. The same also goes for shorts. And we can see that everything's been grouped together correctly with the variants, and everything looks good and as it should. Now we must delete those products that we just grouped together into products with variants. Now to delete these products, we need to go to the Matrixify app, press New Export, and select to export products from the Select Sheets drop-down. And from basic columns, we really only need to select ID, handle, and command. So there we go. And you would also then need to add the same tag that we added previously, which would be old products, or whichever tag you used to tag your products previously. Here you'll have a suggestion for a column to add. You can either leave tags out or add tags. It's completely up to you. In this case, I will add tags, but you can also ignore the suggestion and export without the tags column as well. So once all is set, we can then go ahead and press export. In this export, we should only have the products that we'd like to delete that are tagged with old products. which has been correctly exported, 9 out of 11 products. If all looks good, you can then go ahead and download the exported file by pressing Download Exported File. Here you can see the file has now been downloaded, and here we have our products that we'd like to delete. To delete these products, the process is very, very simple. We would just need to change the command from merge to delete. So here we'll just change this to delete for all rows. And it really is that simple. That's all you need to do to delete the products. Then go ahead and save the file. I'm going to name this file Delete Products. Save the file. And then head back to the Matrixify app. Press Add File. Select the Delete Products file. You'll see that you'll also have a comment about the fact that the command column value is delete and that the whole product will be deleted, which is perfectly fine, which is exactly what we need in this case. And if all looks good, you can then go ahead and press Import. Now we can see the 9 products have been deleted, and if we go to our products in the products section, we'll see we're left with only the 2 products that we grouped together into products with variants. And that would be the process of how you can group products together into products with variants using the Matrixify app. Now, if you run into any issues at all, or if anything's unclear, please do not hesitate to let us know. We're always here to help. You can contact us either via Slack or by email, which would be support@matrixify.app. Please write to us. We will help in any way that we can. And we always reply to everyone within 24 hours. So your questions or queries or concerns will definitely be answered by us. We also have a very, very good written tutorial on how to group products into products with variants as well. If you find following written tutorials a lot easier than a video tutorial, then you can definitely look to this tutorial here on our webpage, matrixify.app. And here we have the written tutorial for everything that I've just gone over in this video as well. Please let us know if anything. But other than that, that is how you can group products into products with variants using the Matrixify app.